Well, according to Senator David Hinkins, it was Ruby Franke's estranged husband, Kevin, who asked him to look into the qualification that it takes to become a life coach in Utah. As it turns out, there are no qualifications, and he believes that bad advice from unqualified coaches have been ruining families for a long time.
Here we are. Hi, we are live in Mapleton, Utah at a home of somebody who is learning how to be a mental fitness trainer. And we have Ruby here. And Ruby is a part of the original 10 women that are being trained to become mental fitness trainers. So Ruby, you want to tell us about what a mental fitness trainer is?
Yes. So we are getting mentally fit the same way your body would get physically fit by running and lifting weights and working with a personal trainer. We are getting ready to be your mental fitness trainer. We're getting truth, really easy to teach. We're making it very simple, boiling it down to principles. That's how you're going to understand truth, is really knowing principles, being able to put words to it and help you, and you're going to feel so much better.
So it now turns out that Ruby Franke's estranged husband, ex-husband Kevin Franke, is sort of spearheading this movement to argue for better overseeing of life coaches. Some parts of the article read, he said Franke's own husband asked him to increase restrictions on these coaches, claiming the relationship advice she got from her business partner led to the collapse of their family. Now, before I get into reading the full article, I just want to say, whilst I do 100% agree that this area of, life coaching, this whole industry of life coaching and, mental training is highly unregulated. It's exactly the same over here. And by over here, I mean in the UK, it is pretty much the exact same. You can just slap a life coach onto things and people will instantly think that you have like a professional skill set or you have knowledge in this area. What I do want to say is that after I've already read this article, I've always thought that Kevin Franke still will not 100% believe that his wife, it wasn't all to do with Jodie. And I do believe that Jodie was very much a mastermind, a very manipulative mastermind in all of this. Even Jodie's niece will say that. There's been lots of people that had said that, and I do firmly believe it. But Ruby does also have a part to play as well, okay? I don't think we should be shifting all of the blame onto Jodie. I feel like they're both equal. Also, when they're talking about, Jodie Hildebrand and how Jodie Hildebrand claims she was a life coach and she's been tearing up families, doesn't it also say that Ruby Franke is like a mental, I always forget what they say, a mental life coach, a mental gymnastics coach. Do you know what I mean? I feel like Ruby also had those credentials without actually having any background training and anything. So whilst I do believe that Jodie Hildebrand played a very big role in destroying a lot of marriages, a lot of lives, I do also think that Kevin I've noticed this quite a few times now, where he'll say he doesn't want to speak ill will of Ruby. He says that he doesn't want to point fingers. He believes that Jodie was the one who ruined the marriage, when I really think it was an equal playing field. Ultimately, Ruby did decide to go ahead with it, and you could say, well, she was being mind controlled, because Jodie did have a way of splitting up many marriages, and we do know that, and I do take that into consideration. I do also feel that the limited amount of times we have heard Kevin speak specifically about what has happened, he does seem to shift all blame onto Jodie, but that is just my own personal opinion. Also, before we get into reading this, because I really don't want to have to keep on stopping it as I'm reading it out, the church, there is no real mention of the fact that Jodie was consistently being recommended by the church, and this is not an anti-religion. I'm not an anti-religion channel. I'm not here saying it's all the church's fault. Jodie was getting quite a lot of her clientele, and there's been no sort of mention of that, which I do find I do find that quite strange, considering there has been so much talk, especially on the LDS church, promoting Jodie. There's been a lot of conversation about that. That is how she found quite a few of her clients. So I do find it quite strange.
If you look on the Connections Classroom website, you'll see accused child abuser Ruby Franke described as a, quote, certified mental fitness trainer.
It's just a title that somebody can make up and makes it sound professional when it's really probably not.
It reads, the child abuse case against Ruby Franke and Jodie Hildebrandt has won lawmaker to believe that the state needs to do a better job overseeing life coaches across Utah. He said Franke's own husband asked him to increase restrictions on these coaches, claiming the relationship advice she got from her business partner led to the collapse of their family. According to Sen David Hinkins, Ruby Franke's estranged husband Kevin asked him to look into the qualifications one has to pass to become a life coach. As it turns out, there are no qualifications, and Hinkins said bad advice from unqualified coaches has been ruining families for a long time. My only question is, if it's been ruining families for a long time, why has nobody stepped in? Does it have to be something this bad that has to happen for people to then take notice? I suppose in this world, then yeah, that is probably the case. The Connections Classroom website, which is still operational, showcases accused child abuser Ruby Franke described as a certified mental fitness trainer. It is just a title that somebody could make up and makes it sound professional when it's really probably not, Hinkins said. There are some online classes people can take on companies' websites that offer what they call mental fitness training. However, Hinkins said state law allows Franke to call herself that whether she's taken the classes or not. Okay, so what is the point in even doing these like mental fitness training things anyway? I swear I was not that far off with mental gymnastics. I don't think there's anything that stops her from saying that, and I don't know that she has had any background training to be that, he said. Former clients of Connections Classrooms have accused Franke and company founder Jodie Hildebrandt of using shaming tactics designed to pit family members against each other. One former client, Trey Warner, said the company would convince men that their impure thoughts made them a danger to their families.
Child abuse. One former client, Trey Warner, told KUTV back in September that Connections would use shaming tactics to pit family members against each other.
It started to feel more and more evil. And I finally, in one of the group meetings, I got up and I just said, this is off.
Warner previously told KUTV there was a man that had a successful business that believed he was a danger to his wife and his family because he did a double take. Like if he saw a beautiful woman and he would see and look again. This guy got his own apartment and separated from his family because he was a danger. However, Hinkins said the state doesn't require coaches to prove they are proficient before they give clients advice. Now, I do think that in quite a lot of these cases, you know, Jodie was opening up as a marriage counsellor, wasn't she? She would offer people, obviously, counselling for marriage and things. And then when she then got her licence suspended, she then couldn't do that for a little while. And then she then went back to it. But instead of, you know, branding herself as a marriage counsellor again, she decided to do a life coach. Now, interestingly enough, when I was actually watching the KUTV video on this, they did actually go on and say that quite a lot of counsellors, like marriage counsellors, etc., who lose their license or have their license suspended, revoked, whoever, whatever, when that happens, quite a lot of them do actually sign up as, you know, mental fitness coaches or you know, life coaches and that, because you don't really need any credentials to do it.
Professional licensing sent a text saying, quote, we do see some complaints that are against life coaches who are former licensed behavioral health practitioners who lost the license and are now practicing as life coaches. The text also said, quote, life coaches are not required to be licensed in Utah. Therefore, there are no standards for the industry, end quote.
I think that those that are professing to be life coaches should have some type of a criteria that they need to some credibility.
It goes on and said, Hinkins said the bill is still in its infancy and that he plans on working with the Utah Division of Professional Licensing while drafting it. He doesn't want the bill to be so strict that it prevents people from giving their family members advice when they are asked to give it. This is good. Obviously, the overall message of making sure these people are actually licensed to give any of this advice that they claim to be able to give. I think the whole thing's pretty wild. But I will just say, I just do think it's quite strange how whenever Kevin has spoken out about this kind of thing, because he has done, to my knowledge, a couple of times now, he will always shift the blame and say that, you know, Jodie ruined my life, and Jodie was the reasoning as to why this has all happened. Yet it literally says on Ruby's credentials on the connections page, it says that she's a mental fitness trainer. She's using those same credentials and doing the same things. You know, I think that the blame should be put on both of them. And I feel like whenever Kevin does talk about this, he is nearly always kind of shifting it more so on Jodie. And I do know that Jodie is a malicious, horrible lady. I do know that she has done horrendous things to countless numbers of people. I do know that. I'm aware of it. But when we're talking about both of them, I feel like there needs to be some accountability. The fact that Ruby was also using these same credentials, she was also doing this to other people towards the end of the connection. So that's just something that I think. I also feel like there needs to be some accountability from the church, who are the ones who kept on recommending Jodie, probably Jodie and Ruby. They were the ones telling people, hey, yeah, you should go to this person. Just a little sneaky suspicious, that's all I'm saying. But, you know, if they can push to have these laws changed and have something put in place, and that's obviously an amazing thing. I'm just suspicious all round towards Kevin, to be honest with you. Not saying that I think he had anything to do with it, but come on, Ruby, like, we used to see their, you know, abusive parenting styles back in the day. I don't like the way that he seems to paint Ruby as someone who was just sort of, you know, washed away by Jodie. I don't think that flies. I don't know. For me, that doesn't really work. Anyway, that is pretty much all I wanted to say. But have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video.